Some stories aren't written in scripts or sealed in film reels. They live in the quiet spaces between heartbeats, the loves that shaped a man the world called a legend. Robert Redford. To audiences, he was the golden boy, handsome, composed, and endlessly mysterious. To those who really knew him, he was something else entirely. A man both captivated and haunted by love. A man who never chased fame as much as he chased meaning. Behind every frame of his career stood 5 women who molded the man behind the myth. The first who grounded him, the star who slipped away too soon, the firebrand who challenged him, the storm that consumed him, and the one who stayed his eternal muse. Number 1. Natalie Wood, the star who shined too bright. Before the legend of Robert Redford took form, before Sundance, before the silver hair and timeless grin, there was a young actor still finding his way. And then there was her, Natalie Wood. By the 1960s, she wasn't just a star, she was Hollywood. Graceful, tragic, impossible to ignore. Redford first met her on set, a place where cameras blurred the line between real and pretend. Together, they created cinematic sparks in Inside Daisy Clover, 1965, and This Property is Condemned, 1966. Their on-screen chemistry was effortless, the kind that made entire theaters fall silent. She played the dreamer chasing something real, he played the drifter who promised the impossible. And yet, it never felt like acting. It felt like confession. Off-screen, whispers began that something tender and true had formed behind the lens. Those who knew them never confirmed it, but they didn't deny it either. Natalie saw in Redford something Hollywood rarely offered her: peace. He wasn't loud, he wasn't chasing headlines, he was present, steady, safe. Redford, in turn, saw a woman trapped between fame and fragility. A soul too luminous for a world that devours its brightest lights. When Natalie Wood's life was cut short in 1981, it shattered him. He seldom spoke her name in public, but when he did, his tone changed. Reverent, soft, like he was protecting something sacred. To him, she wasn't a chapter, she was a lesson. A reminder that love, like stardom, can be brilliant and painfully brief. Number 2. Sonia Braga, the storm he couldn't tame. By the late 1980s, Redford had become more than an actor. He was an institution, an Oscar-winning director, a producer, a symbol of Hollywood integrity. He had seen everything, built everything. But then came a woman who tore through that calm like lightning. Sonia Braga. If Natalie Wood was a spark, Sonia was the wildfire. Born in Brazil, Braga carried the rhythm of Rio in her blood. She was fearless, untamed, and gloriously unpredictable. Known for Dona Flor and her 2 husbands, and Kiss of the Spider-Woman, she exuded a passion that could make even the calmest man lose his footing. Redford, private, composed, a master of control, was fascinated. With Sonia, there were no masks, no filters, no boundaries. She lived out loud, laughed without caution, and loved without fear. Friends close to Redford described their time together as a collision of worlds, his mountain stillness against her tropical storm. For a man used to restraint, she was liberation, the kind that both exhilarates and terrifies. But storms, no matter how beautiful, rarely last. He craved balance, and she thrived in chaos. They burned bright, too bright, until reality pulled them apart. Years later, Redford called her a force of nature. That simple phrase carried weight, admiration, respect, and something deeper left unsaid. Sonia Braga wasn't the woman he built a home with. She was the one who reminded him that even legends can lose themselves in love. And sometimes, that's the only way to feel truly alive. Number 3. Barbra Streisand, the fire that tested his cool. If Sonia was chaos, Barbra Streisand was confrontation, the kind of passionate energy that demanded presence. In 1973, they came together for The Way We Were, a film that still defines cinematic romance. But what the audience didn't know was that the tension, the passion, the aching restraint, it wasn't acting, it was them. Barbra, already a superstar, burned with ambition and emotion. Every word she spoke carried fire. Redford, in contrast, was ice, measured, subtle, quietly magnetic. When they met on set, it was like opposites striking a match. Their relationship off-camera wasn't a public love affair, but everyone who worked on the film could feel the charge between them. Streisand later admitted that she might have been the one who got away. Redford never said much, but sometimes silence says everything. For them, love wasn't about forever, it was about truth, even if that truth only lasted for a moment. 4. Jane Fonda, the love that never happened. Some connections are too rare to define, too perfect to ruin. That was Robert Redford and Jane Fonda. Their story wasn't one of scandal or heartbreak, it was one of what-ifs. From Barefoot in the Park, 1967, to The Electric Horseman, 1979, to Our Souls at Night, 2017. Every time they appeared together, it felt like the universe was rewriting the same love story in different eras. Their chemistry was pure, unforced, and ageless. Viewers believed they were soulmates because, in a way, they were, just not in the way Hollywood imagines. Jane was outspoken, politically fearless, a woman who lived unapologetically. Redford admired that. He once said she never faked anything, and that honesty drew him in. Fonda, for her part, admitted that she sometimes wished their connection had crossed the line into romance. But maybe the timing was never right. He was guarded, private, always protecting his inner world. She was a public force, unafraid of fire. They lived in different rhythms, and so their relationship remained a beautiful paradox, a deep friendship layered with unspoken affection. When they reunited for Our Souls at Night, now both in their 80s, something magical happened. It wasn't acting anymore. It was life reflecting on what could have been. Jane Fonda once said that acting with Redford always felt safe, and maybe that was love in its purest form. Not passion or chaos, but trust. Some love stories never happen, but they still shape a lifetime. Theirs was one of them. 5. Lola Van Wagenen, the anchor who kept him human. Long before the fame, before the headlines, before the name Robert Redford meant anything, there was just Bob, and beside him stood Lola Van Wagenen. She wasn't a movie star or a Hollywood dreamer. She was a historian, smart, grounded, and beautifully normal. When they married in 1958, Redford was still unknown, a man with more dreams than dollars. Lola saw him clearly, not as the star he would become, but as the man he already was. She believed when no one else did. Together they built a family, 4 children, a home filled with laughter, and a fragile sense of normalcy that fame would one day shatter. As Redford's career soared, their world changed. Long shoots, distant sets, the endless pull of fame. It all took its toll. By 1985, after nearly 3 decades together, they quietly ended their marriage. No drama, no spotlight, just 2 people who realized that love sometimes transforms instead of ending. Yet Redford never spoke of her with anything but gratitude. In later years, when he mentioned her, there was always a softness in his tone, the kind of tenderness you reserve for the person who knew you before you became somebody else. Lola Van Wagenen wasn't his forever partner, but she was his foundation. She saw the man behind the myth, and sometimes that's the rarest kind of love. The man beyond the myth. Robert Redford's life reads like a novel, one written in gold and heartbreak. To the world, he was the perfect leading man. To himself, he was a craftsman, always searching for truth in the noise. Each of these women, Lola, Natalie, Barbara, Sonia, and Jane, left a mark deeper than time could erase. The grounded first love, the fragile star, the fiery muse, the tempestuous passion, and the soulmate who never became one. They shaped his art, his choices, his silences. They reminded him that even legends are human, flawed, vulnerable, capable of great love and quiet sorrow. Behind the calm eyes and half smiles lived a man who had endured loss, including the death of a child, and who learned that peace isn't found in applause, but in stillness. That's why he built the Sundance Institute, a sanctuary for new voices, for stories that meant something. He wasn't trying to be a hero, he was trying to make space for honesty. Today, when Redford looks back, you can still see the glimmer of all those loves in his smile. The young dreamer, the heartbroken friend, the quiet mentor. His legacy isn't measured in fame or fortune. It's measured in truth, in endurance, in how deeply he dared to feel. Because Robert Redford didn't just act love stories, he lived them, quietly, fiercely, and without regret. Which story touched you most? The calm of Lola, the mystery of Natalie, the fire of Barbara, the storm of Sonia, or the unspoken bond of Jane? Tell us in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more untold Hollywood stories that reveal the hearts behind the legends.